So I grew up in a Christian home. My folks had us in church pretty much every Sunday unless there was a huge snowstorm, which you all don't know anything about that down here, so that's fine. So I just kind of grew up always believing, always knowing Bible stories, and looking back now, I'm really thankful that I had that foundation, that I had really strong spiritual leaders in my house. But I wouldn't say it was probably until about college when I started to own my faith for myself. I went to a small Christian college and just started learning a little bit more. I was such a rule follower growing up, but it was more out of fear of consequences than desire to be obedient. So when I was at college, it was my sophomore or junior year, I don't remember. One of the guys I had gone to high school with had a really bad situation happen to him, and he had contemplated suicide. And he didn't end up killing himself, but it really shook me up because I was like, gosh, I knew him, I grew up with him. And I kind of thought to myself, what's the value of a life? Because I thought, he is not a believer. He doesn't know Jesus, and he's about to make an eternal decision. And it kind of shook me, and I was like, would I give $100, $1,000, $1 million? And I felt like I was like, what about a year? What about 10 years? What about a lifetime? Is one person's soul, eternity, worth your life? And so at that point, I declared a missions major and decided, okay, I'm going to go. So I graduated and I went overseas for a couple of years. And while overseas, got a little tap on my shoulder. God was like, okay, it's time to learn the next thing. And it was rough for a couple of years because all of the comforts of America were kind of stripped away, and all that was left was myself. And what I realized was I didn't find much value there. I didn't know what I was good at. I kind of looked around and I'm like, ooh, she's really good at that, or ooh, he's really good at that. And I started trying to mimic them. Like, ooh, okay, well, if I could do that, I could really excel. I could be valuable. I could be worth something. And the more that I tried to mimic other people, the more that I tried to be like them or do what they were doing, the worse I got. Kind of hit a low point of depression, and my anxiety was off the charts because I just couldn't be them, and I couldn't do it. And I'm very thankful for that time of my life, because I feel like God was like, okay, let me show you who you are. And that was when he kind of stripped away and said, it's nothing you can do. It's nothing you can work for. It's nothing you can prove. It's because of who I made you to be. And once I started settling in that, and it wasn't like that, it was a journey. Once I started settling into who he made me to be, I realized that for me to be me was the best thing I could do to glorify him. Because me trying to mimic somebody else was fraud. It was trying to say, well, God, this isn't quite good enough, the way you made me, how you designed me. I need to be a little bit better, so I'm going to be like her. And that's ridiculous, right? So it was while overseas when I was starting to really learn who God made me to be. I started finding my value and my skills, and I felt like he started directing me towards the next piece. And one of the things that just kind of surfaced in me was this desire to help others, especially women, find their value in Christ and find their story and who he made them to be. Thinking back, I was like wondering if I asked women at home in my home churches what God's doing in their life, I was wondering if some of them would say nothing. And I thought to myself, then you're not paying attention, because I feel like God is always desiring to move in each of our lives, and he always has something to show us. And that's one of the things I love, is that he doesn't leave us where we're at. He's always ready to show us the next thing and to stretch us and grow us. And sometimes it's a little painful, but it's always worth it, because once I started kind of settling into my skill sets, I was so much more effective in life as a human, in what I was doing over there. And I just felt at peace. And I felt like, okay, I can be me, and that's enough, because Christ said it's enough. And so, I can look back in my life and see how each piece kind of led to the next piece, and how the different skill sets have led me here. One of the biggest things that I love / hate about crossover is that I always feel like there's a challenge to grow in ways that make me uncomfortable. I know my skill sets and know what I'm good at, but I also know that there's things that we're called to do that aren't comfortable but are important, and they're eternally important. Sharing my faith, sharing my beliefs, making conversation and being bold isn't natural to me with folks that I'm not super familiar with or friends with. But I think crossover has really challenged me in realizing that every day, every place we are, that's our mission.